This is the developer commentary portion of the Ghost game. We start out here in the main menu where the player can choose to either start the game, open the credits menu where they can see all of the developers and their roles, open the options menu where they can toggle the resolution, quality of textures, the view distance, anti-aliasing and shadow detail, as well as all of the sound settings such as music, ambient, and effects. Finally, of course, there is the exit option which will quit the game. For now, let's jump in.
You've been cordially invited to try our new demo, Umbra Syndicate.
The game begins with a cinematic intro with some narration in the background to get the player introduced to the world.
Tasked with hunting down and destroying a ghost haunting a large mansion.
My first solo case for the Umbra Syndicate. This shouldn't be too hard.
After jumping into the level, the player gains control of their character and hears some extra exposition in the background to explain what the player is there to do. The level divides into two main sections, the outside graveyard section and the indoors mansion section. For now, we're going to go into the mansion, where the player has to locate artifacts to trap the ghost. You can immediately hear in the background and see in the foreground a whole lot of effects being triggered by the player walking through trigger boxes inside the mansion. This house is filled with trigger boxes such as those, and there's a lot of different haunted effects which can be experienced by the player. These can range from flickering lights all the way to furniture ominously floating to the ceiling. On the top left of the screen, you can also see the sanity number, which is showing you just how much sanity the player has remaining. Coming close to artifacts will make the sanity go down. Additionally, at their disposal, the player has the Pulse, which will reveal any ghost artifacts, the ghost itself, and any journal page entries around them that they should interact with. Now, as of right now, the ghost is intangible and thus cannot be destroyed or interacted with in any way. In this instance, the player has located one of the artifacts. You can see the sanity going down as the player approaches it, and by pressing E, the artifact can now be destroyed. Destroying an artifact obviously upsets the ghost and increases the level of haunting that is happening around the mansion. More things will now trigger, and more scary occurrences can be seen by the player. Here the player has located a journal entry. By approaching it, they can press E to read it, and they will get some backstory about what is happening at the mansion. As the player picks up journal entries, more voice lines will play in the background, explaining the situation and the player's thoughts. Here you can also see the player's flashlight turning red when they approach the ghost. This is a simple detail added to let the player know when they've gotten close to the ghost, which is also accompanied by a heartbeat sound in the background. Now technically the player is in no danger while locating these artifacts, but of course the game never tells you that, thus keeping the tension high. Here the player is about to pick up the final artifact, which will start the final game loop with the ghost. At this point, the ghost is fully hostile, and as soon as it spots the player, it will make a beeline for it, chasing them. As you can see, the ghost has also now become fully visible, and will actually be chasing the player, with appropriate sound effects in the background. Now the player has one main tool at their disposal to trap the ghost, and that is by placing signs on the ground, which the ghost has to be lured into. The player can place a maximum of 4 signs on the ground at any given point. Placing any more will cause the older ones to despawn. Should the ghost reach the player, they will receive damage, and if enough damage is dealt, the player will die and the game will restart. If the player manages to successfully lure the ghost into a trap, the ghost will be defeated and the credit screen will show, effectively signaling that the player has won the game. Thank you for your attention. That is the end of our presentation. This was the Ghost game.